Welcome to the All About You podcast. My name is Sheila and I am your host. Here in Valencia at Christmas, Cameron Hall, who has been a guest on the podcast several times, wrote and directed the pantomime Sleeping Beauty. Pantomime is a very British thing, so Cameron has given something very different to the people of Valencia. Now, we all know the story of Sleeping Beauty. A beautiful princess and a handsome prince fall in love. So today, for your listening pleasure, I'm very lucky to have that handsome prince with me on the podcast. So Joe, welcome to the
Hello,
podcast.
Sheila. Thank you for having me.
Well, I have to say you're my very first prince and I'm very excited, but I'm a bit disappointed you're not wearing your crown.
Oh, well, no, it's locked away somewhere. Crown jewels, isn't it?
I
I've got to keep
guess
it
you've got to
safe.
put it away in the safe.
Yeah, I can't just be there around the house cooking, going to the toilet with my crown on.
Now that would be something.
It would be something, yeah.
Joe, you are an actor here
I
in
am.
Valencia.
Yeah,
And we are going to talk about your career, how you got into acting,
sure.
how it
Yeah,
all started.
yeah.
But we've got to go back to being a prince.
Okay.
Let's talk about the pantomime
Okay.
Sleeping Beauty. Was that your first experience of being a prince?
As a prince, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was my first pantomime. As a clear, like British style pantomime.
Oh, okay, because you're
Yeah.
originally from the UK.
Yes, yeah, Basingstoke Way, and we have lots of pantomimes coming through every year. I actually went to see Sleeping Beauty in my local town this year for Christmas. Took my niece and everything like that. So there's this comparison of like, oh, they're doing this, and they've got this sort of cast, and then when Cameron's got his cast with me in it, and then equally they were so different, and I'm so proud of what we achieved and what we kind of gave to the community of
And
Valencia.
who had the best crown?
Cameron. No, I know. I wore the crown pretty well.
I mean, let's talk about the role of being the prince. I mean, what a brilliant role to have.
Well, one thing was, okay, how stupid do we want this prince to be? Or how romantic do we want him to be? Do we want it to be like quite a Disney-esque style thing, especially with Saskia, who played the princess? And we kind of said we're going to go down the route of being a bit more lovable, for one thing, and that's fine. I can do that. I'm 35. I can I can do all that, I think. Yeah, and to have good vocals to sing, and I love singing. I'm a musician as well, so that's great. But yeah, just to be that character who just kind of, he just slots in a little bit to the story. You know, it is like this true love story you see, but in our version, I felt like, okay, I'm in there for these little buckets of time, and just kind of getting in the way a little bit as a Prince character. In terms of the humour that he gave, I wanted to kind of keep him as kind of natural as possible. To be like, what's this backstory of this prince? Where's he sort of come from? Why is he lost in the woods and then meets this princess and then suddenly fall in love? That's the Disney part of the story. And I was very fortunate to be able to help with picking the songs that I wanted to sing alongside with the princess, and the solo I got as well. So that was
we'll try and
really
get some photographs from Cameron to include with the
gosh.
podcast. Yeah, because
Yeah,
you had
gotta-
some very nice outfits that you wore, some
did.
nice dashing capes.
I had a baby pink. I don't feel more baby pink ever in my life. Nothing against it at all, but I kept it for a little while. I was like, I'm going to put this back on at some point over the new year.
Well, you've definitely got a fancy dress outfit, haven't you? Whenever you need it.
Yeah, I'll just call Cameron and be like, can I borrow that thing again?
Let's go back to the very beginning then.
Mm-hmm.
What put you on the path of becoming an actor?
Acting wasn't what I always wanted to do. I think from a young age, there's always that question like, what are you going to do when you grow up and what do you want to become? I'm not really from a big theatrical family. My mother, who sadly passed away, was a performer. She led choir singer. She had this lovely kind of gospel voice, which was nice. So I kind of grew up in that environment. My dad is very musicality. He loves classical music and going to the theatre himself and doing different things. And my siblings, we've all dabbled in some sort of musicianship, let's say. But I'm the first out of my family to go and study it, make a career from it. But it did start solely with my mum and understanding what is it like to sing professionally and to go and experience theatre professionally. And she met lots of different people, walks of that life, which was really special. So I kind of grew up in that. And then my best friend, who was my next door neighbour, still best friend to this day, Ashley Foyle, he was like, come along to a Saturday drama club that they were a part of. He was a thespian. He's a year older than me and just kind of found his love for it. And then I started doing that. I started to realise, this is kind of a lot of fun. I did a small Michael Jackson tribute dance, and I was like, oh, I'm quite into this. And I was about 14 years old. The school I went to, we didn't really have drama per se as a kind of GCSE standard. We just did charitable things. We went to like a nursing home and kind of put on little shows, which was quite. So there was that pocket of time when I was like 14, going 15. Kind of, am I interested in this? Is this something I'm kind of good at? I think it's hard to say. Like, am I good at that at a young age? You know, you get told by your parents or people who watch and do sort of things. But I never took to the stage until a bit later, and it was probably when I was, I think, 17, 18. I started doing some more amateur dramatic things, and that's when I went to do Oklahoma for the first time, and I auditioned to do it. Had 2-3 friends who were kind of a part of it. So like, come along, come and do Oklahoma. I was like, okay, yeah, I think I know what the story is about. I remember seeing Hugh Jackman in the role as Curly and stuff, and I went for it, and I got a main part. I was Will Parker, who was kind of the ditzy kind of cowboy, kind of love-struck kind of kid who was a bit just misunderstood. I was like, oh, I'm a bit like this character, actually. Like, my personality is shining through.
You could identify
completely
with the character, yeah?
Absolutely, completely. And I was kind of being like a bit of a romantic part and working with a fantastic other actors in that. And to this day, I'm still in touch with some of them. And it was that moment which was really changed my life in many different ways. That was the first time doing a show of a great standard in my local town, inviting friends and family to come and see me. And, oh, that's amazing. And then I was at college at the time. I studied drama at a BTEC level. So then I was immersed further into doing different versions of like Shakespeare, classic pieces, naturalism, comedy, a bit of stand-up comedy. Yeah, I was just fully immersed into this world. And I was sort of reflecting on this. It's like 17 years ago, pretty much. But that's kind of where it all began. Amazing friendships, found love for the first time at that, a young age. So there was a lot of, I guess, like any young person's kind of figuring things out. And it was then, this is awesome. This is really, really cool. I'm really enjoying this. I've got to try and make this happen because I found my feet on something. Some things can, I guess you can kind of look at things about, oh, I'm quite good at this, this is kind of easy, but there's always a challenge along the way. And that's why I'm here getting to this. My big curveball was I found out I had cancer at that age when I did Oklahoma. So it was that end of college time, which was, pretty extreme. But the bad thing was I had a friend, Craig Mitchell, his name is, he was in the Oklahoma story as a kind of ensemble character. And how I found out was I woke up one morning, had a lump on my neck, and that was an eye-opener. I was like, what's going on? I said to my dad, like, let's go get it checked out. Thought it was nothing, had a biopsy done, and then turns out I had Hodgkin's disease, Hodgkin's lymphoma. If you don't know what that is in your lymph glands. It normally happens in the upper part of your body. So it's easy to identify, and you know what's going to happen with it, compared to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which can be quite sporadic. So and going back to Craig, it was the final night of the show, and I was so prepared to this is the last night, can't wait to do it. He's like, is there something you need to tell me? And I was like, what are you asking? He's like, I know about your news. And in my head I was like, how does this news travel? How's things gone on? Who's said something? Not like these days, you can get information, just pings anywhere and everyone can know anything. I was like, oh yeah. He's like, you okay? I was like, I just want to go and do the show, mate. I didn't think about it at all as if, that's, I don't know what's going to come in a few weeks. Right then and there I was like, I'm here to perform, here to do a job, which was not a paid job at the time, it was just a bit of fun that I paid to do. And finish the show and then I'll deal with that later. And I did. I had to deal with it. I was 18 years old, so that real pinnacle time in your life where you kind of, okay, I want to start building a career now, but I had to put things on pause for a little bit. Had chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and it was probably about a 10-month period where I was kind of figuring it all out. And in that time I had to see those friends who were in college making their decisions, moving in different directions, and I was kind of put on pause for a little bit. That was probably the hardest part, well, not the hardest part of the treatment. It's rough, very rough. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but why I'm here to talk a little bit is how that part of that story has driven me to become who I am today. And I think it's important that those small things that happen in your life, be it really hurtful, negative, how can you turn them into making them a positive outlook on your life? And how can you use that to embrace newer things, embrace different parts of yourself and make yourself more comfortable in your own skin as much as possible. And definitely at the time I didn't feel that at all. I felt like, oh gosh, is my life over? Am I not going to touch any of that acting stuff again? So I didn't know when this would end. Just to pause on me for a second, I'm going to talk about my mum for a second, because I lost her to cancer. All my life, despite her being this kind of idol that I had, she suffered with breast cancer. Had it when I was a young boy. Paused. I remember memory went to Florida. She had no hair. She had this wig. It flew off in the wind in Florida when we were at Disneyland. It was really, really beautiful to see her just kind of crack on. That, and I think that was really like a thing. I was like, wow, I'm not embarrassed at all. She's not embarrassed, so why should I feel embarrassed as her son? And then, yeah, she sadly lost her life when I was first year of college, end of that. So then going into the second year of college, working at all this new material. And I think it's hard, people were going to be sympathetic. My drama teachers were very sympathetic. My friends were sympathetic. I was like, I just want to carry on, because I know she would want me to carry on. I think that's kind of a general message, right, to people who are on their death's door. You want to say to people, carry on with your life. Try and look at me and how much I struggled, but I fought that illness with everything I got. And that's what she did, sort of. And then going back to me when I was poorly, I had to take that same mentality and be like, I'm gonna deal with this as much as possible. I know life's on pause, but I'm gonna go and tackle this. Wait till it finishes. I was with someone, which was really nice. I was with a girl who kind of supported me, and then when that kind of finished, it was the September of 2007. Opening my eyes to, okay, what I'm going to do now? What is university, drama school, London, or somewhere? What doors are open now? Now I've put that to bed. Funny enough, now I've put that sickness to bed, and it's just there, can lay rest. I don't want to look at it ever again. But like any big things that happen, any trauma that happens in your life, it's always going to be there. And at that age, I was like, okay, now that's gone away. I want to focus on more things. But then I learned to actually, how can I use that in my career now to drive the people, the characters, the stories that I love, and make me a better actor, because I've actually dealt with something natural in my life, very negative, very unhealthy. But how can I make that work for me in a funny, weird way, to develop me as a better person and communicate better? And thank you, Sheila, for being on this podcast, because it's probably the first time me taking all that information and bringing it into somewhere now, and hopefully making it understandable to people, like these things can happen. And as an actor, you use all these kind of old memories, these feelings, these emotives, drive to make your performances what they can be.
I mean,
whirlwind, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sitting here listening to your story. You are one of the happy, smiley people. Whenever I see you, you are always a great big grin. You're always positive. You're always cheerful. And thinking of you at the tender age of 18, because what the hell do we know at 18? We know nothing. We don't know anything
exactly.
at 18.
Just crack on, do your studies, or whatever it is, meet the right people and the wrong people. What do you want to do in life? Is that, you still answering that question?
18, you're legally an adult, but I still think at 18 we don't really know a great deal. I mean, yes, it depends on the individual.
Sure.
But going through so many things, you might have, left education, starting your first job. You might be going to university, leaving home. There's so much stuff going on. You're trying to work out who you are, who you want to be. Are you with the cool people? Are you out on a limb?
True.
There's so much going. It's so traumatic. But you to deal with that as well.
The weight of it all, right?
I've had several people on the podcast who have talked about how negative things in their life have sometimes turned into a blessing and made them a better person, or put them on a route to something, whether it's a different career or a relationship decision. And so many people are saying it really sort of makes you put, as you say, a pause on your life. Basically fight for your life. For people to have to make that decision, and regardless what age you are, having to go through the treatment, changing for the better with the way of the treatment, but having to deal with that. You obviously took so much courage from your mum.
Yeah, without a doubt.
As you said, that really helped you. But you are still relying on yourself. As much as your friends and family can be supportive, it's what's in your belly that's going to get you through.
Of course, of course. You're generally the only one who can tackle these sort of things. People can saying help as much as they need to, which is great. During that time, I had family and friends who were helping my siblings and my dad, bringing over meals. Just that kind of little bit of support. It's just very simple. It's a little reach out, a little touch, and it's just love at the end of the day, which is the best cure.
Yeah,
I would say for that
definitely.
sort of thing. Just be like, and just to be there to listen, and every little helps.
I mean, I really believe, when somebody is going through something, a very serious illness, medication and treatment,
Yeah.
I believe, can work to a certain point. But I think there's a lot of evidence now to saying it's how you talk to yourself as the patient, your attitude to the
Yes.
treatment, your personality. And there's so much evidence now, and doctors and medical professionals are saying you're the person that's going to make the difference. If you're going to have a lot of faith and trust and you're going to do all the right things, but it's like your mental attitude.
Yes.
Even if you're not dealing with something like that, sometimes we just have to say, okay, I've got to rely on my instincts, my gut feelings. You've got to, come on, Sheila, put your big girl pants on, put your Superman t-shirt on, and just crack on with it.
Yeah.
And often that will get you through. And I think it's this mental agility, mental ability, whatever you want to call it. I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah. Easier said than done.
I
completely.
am sure 100%.
Very much so.
Absolutely.
Very much so. I think that's a lot to say to a lot of things, not even just to illnesses like I've had, just generally what life can bring at you. Issues, financial issues, anything like that. It's just kind of, you gotta find a way to kind of work at it and work at yourself to overcome those challenges. That's what it's been for me. Just life's a challenge anyway, and it can be, but how you kind of, your outlook at it can be what it is. Why I'm in Valencia is because I'm acting, doing what I love to do. Became a prince before Christmas. So, yeah, just got to roll with the punches, as they say sometimes, but always kind of be true to yourself. Be true to your identity. Don't lose that. Cancer's not my identity. I'm Joseph. That's who I am. That's just something that kind of was a part of me and still is a part of me, sort of. I'm very well now, completely. For all the listeners, I'm absolutely fine now. I'm very, very fortunate, but I'm hoping that anyone that is listening that has kind of been in that same position as me, who is one of the lucky ones, let's say, is kind of has an outlook of life that is kind of as positive as it can be and as happy as it can be, and not letting those ghosts kind of still haunt you, as poetic as that could sound.
When I'm talking to people about the podcast and people say, what's the podcast about? And I explain, and they go, well, what are you trying to do? And I said, well, I want to have these amazing people on because everybody is blooming amazing.
Yeah,
everybody's got a story, they've done something, they've got a passion for something. I've had people on the podcast who are telling some very, very personal stories, often involve health issues.
Sure.
And I think if one person listens to a podcast and they think, oh, okay, I've got a bit of a health issue, I'm just going to go and get it checked out, I've done my job.
Yeah,
even if they take absolutely nothing else from that conversation.
Sure.
If one person goes and sees a medical professional or just talks to the pharmacist, just something, that to me is just fantastic.
Yeah.
And I have just got so much respect for people like you, Happy Smiley Joe, who is prepared to come along and say, yes, in December I was the prince and had a great time doing it, and I made the role my own and did an incredible job. But this is also a part of my life, always will be. It's always going to be there. Thank God you are fully recovered now or in good health. But for you to come along and share your personal story, the gratitude and respect I have got for you and others who have done that, because I just think it is so important. And I have this mantra: health is wealth.
Right, sure.
Regardless of what it is. For people like you to come along and share such an intimate and personal story, because it cannot be easy for you revisiting that period.
No, well, me reaching out to ask you just to be on this podcast and kind of say, I saw your post. I follow you anyway. We're good friends, but I was like, is it time just to do that? And is this kind of like a sense of therapy for myself? Bother talking about it. Well, I had a really rough year last year as well, and coming in this year, being given the role of the prince was like good fortune in some way. And then coming to this year, again, working on new material for performances. And there's just been little things, and then that was kind of like a little trigger that when I saw your post being like, got a story, come and have a chat. And you know, it doesn't matter if it's encouraging or whatever like that. I was like, is my story encouraging? I need to like look at it in that perspective. Is it gonna be easy for me to talk about, for one thing? And I've always felt that. I've always said to myself, I've always looked at it in kind of in a brighter light, let's say. All these little parts from there, and make them as loving and lovely as can be. That question I always say to myself, was there a reason why I got that? Was there a reason why I was poorly and so sick? And I'll tell you one, weirdly, if I wasn't, this is a weird thing, and my partner, Sammy, would be like, why are you saying that? But it's true to me. If I wasn't ill for that time period, and whatever it took, I would have never met the love of my life who I'm with today. It's 15 years in May.
Oh, wow.
You know, and she's a performer as well, Sammy. And we work together with this lovely working relationship of acting together and just living together. Some people think that's a bloody nightmare. You're working and living and everything with your partner, but honestly, we are incredible best of friends. Yeah, going back to what I said, if I didn't become ill, I would have never met her the way it is, and that's just down to timing, fate, or whatever you want to believe in for those sort of things. But for me, it's like a lovely truth that I always kind of remember, and she took on my history.
Well, I'm going to tell you something I don't think you know, Joe.
Go on.
You know my husband, Pete.
Mm.
When we both lived at home with our parents, we lived in basically the same town in the UK.
Right.
As the crow flies, we were probably about a mile away from each other. We never knew each other. I was at school, he went off to university, and then turn that clock forward 20 odd years.
Sure.
We met at a hospital in Portsmouth, basically our hometown.
Yeah.
His father was passing away. My father was passing away.
Come
I
on.
got chatting to his mother in the day room. We were making each other cups of tea. And she was talking about her boys. And I imagine these two scrappy-kneed, catapult school uniform boys. And in walked these two strapping men. Pete offered to make me a cup of tea. We sort of got chatting. His father passed away on the Saturday morning. My father passed away the Monday morning.
Gosh.
They were in the same ward.
Wow.
I believe, and I'm a great believer in fate, my dad said, I'm leaving. I'm going to put the perfect man for my daughter in her lap.
Incredible. As you do.
We've been together ever since.
Great.
I believe in times of trauma, hard times, whatever you want to call it, people are positioned, brought into, dropped into your life at that particular time. You've experienced that with your love, Sammy.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that.
Great,
so
isn't it?
Your story is not a surprise to me at all, because I believe in that.
Sure.
And
it's magic.
Yeah, it is. It's just my dad is looking down and go, well, I know my daughter's okay because my dad was Peter, he's Peter. There is too many stars aligning.
Yeah.
I sometimes think, where would I be? What would I have done? I'm an only child. My mum had passed away before. I haven't got any family. What would my life be like now? You know, I'm so blessed to have Pete as my life partner. Your story does not surprise me at all, because I so believe in times when you need that person, the stars will align and they just walk into your life.
Yeah, completely.
That, I think, is pretty damn amazing.
Yeah, congrats.
Well, yeah, you too, you too.
We're doing something right, aren't we?
Well, absolutely. Well, this is the crazy thing. When people sort of say, oh, I can't find a nice man, or where are all the nice ladies? I go, well, I found mine in a hospital. So, under these circumstances, so, you know, I'm not saying you have to be in that place to do that.
Yeah.
But,
you know, how did you do
exactly.
Where were you? What time of day was it? You know, I just need to write this down, make a little scenario
Yeah,
happen.
make sure it's you ask for tea, not coffee. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Your story doesn't surprise me at all, because I just so believe in that.
Good.
So you've been together for 15 years?
Indeed, yeah. And, well, we met at university. So this goes back to acting again. Went to university in Bath Spa University.
Oh, how posh.
Oh no, yes,
Oh,
exactly.
how
From
awfully
Basingstoke to Bath.
Let's talk about what are
Focus.
you doing now, Joe?
What
You
am I up
put
to
your
now?
crown in on a shelf for now.
Yeah, that'll come back probably
Yeah,
this
lovely.
December. I think in a previous podcast you had me on to talk about La Tournée Teatro.
Yeah. I would actually link that podcast because that was a long time
It
ago,
was a long time.
Joe.
It was COVID times, just around or just.
Yeah, I think it probably just before
blur,
actually. Yeah, but I'll link that to this podcast as well.
You.
Yeah, that was a
do.
long time ago.
Yeah, so I'm currently working in a touring company that tour out of Valencia and around surrounding areas. And my tour currently is working on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Ghost.
Oh my God.
Not the musical, but more of a film adaptation for stage. And the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is kind of a variation of the old story and the new story and the Wonka. It's kind of a mixture. But that hour-long plays, and they're performed to students. So from primary to secondary, all in English, all fantastically fun with original songs and music, and it's just a blast. And I'm actually revisiting these shows from 5 years ago, so it's a revamp. So when I started with this company, I tackled these shows, and now I'm tackling them again 5 years on, a bit older, but I'm playing Charlie Bucket in that story, and Augustus Gloop, which is hilarious. And then in Ghost, playing Carl, I can't remember his surname, but the kind of villain of the story. And it's lovely, it's great. I get to be with the company I'm working for in the 6 years I've been there. I've just got to challenge and take on different characters that I can kind of pick and choose from. I'm kind of like the in-house actor along with Sammy, and I also write the stories. So any new stories we've had just come up, so I'll talk about them actually currently on tour as well, is Horton Hears a Who, which is that Dr. Seuss, which is more of a film adaptation from the animation. That was with Jim Carrey. So that was kind of written, and then a real challenge has been doing a story called Jekyll, which is based upon Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, infused with another story called Boo, which is a novel by Neil Smith, which is about a boy is at high school and he is murdered at high school. It's kind of a take on kind of a little bit of American culture, but this boy is kind of an outcast, very, very hyper intellect, has an obsession with the periodic table. So science is a big, big ordeal in this. And then you look at Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, science and politics is a big ordeal with this. So there's this lovely fusion of both stories. So it's taken a modern story and an old story, and how can we kind of envelop these two together? And that was my challenge as a writer. So I've started to take more of a writing role. Well, right now we're thinking about the new shows, which is Hush Hush at the moment.
Yeah, we won't mention those.
And then, and it was a beautiful challenge, and we made something really special. That was kind of a high school setting with this infusion of this kind of limbo-esque behaviour. And the whole tale is about personal behaviours, about being ill at 18. It's looking at students and people of that same age who one has a sense of bipolar, one is an outcast, one is a bit of a misfit, one is a typical bully who's misunderstood and are put into this world where they are challenged by their behaviours and reflect on who they are. And that is the whole thing about, I think we're always reflecting on who we are as people anyway. Am I making the right decisions? Am I doing the right thing? Is me missing that date gonna cause a problem in the future? It was a real lovely challenge to look at personas, and it helped me look at myself a bit and be like, what do I want to give to this story? I can take from my own life and be like, that person exists. And in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, that person exists, this person who's fighting good and evil and fueling that side of him all the time, which was just beautiful to kind of write about, because we're making decisions all the time of our lives, and writing for a character who is constantly making decisions and people saying, is that a good idea? Doesn't matter. I'm not going to be a part of that anymore. I don't want to be a part of your experiment, and it's become a great play out of, and it's finished. It's going from September until end of June this year. I think it's pretty much fully booked out, tour around the country. So really, really special. Really, I'm happy I get to have that opportunity to be trusted as a writer. and then furtherly be trusted as an actor.
I mean, you're the whole package: musician, singing, dancing, acting,
Yeah,
writing,
yeah. I don't know. Is
and
it
wearing a
triple threat?
crown.
The
Yeah,
crown was the
the
cherry on top,
crown.
wasn't it?
Absolutely. I've got to
Yeah.
ask you,
Go on.
if you had the opportunity to do any role, and I'm not not talk about
I know
money,
exactly. Yeah.
location, what's it going to be?
It would be either Mark from Rent. Do you know the musical Rent?
Yes.
Yeah, Mark, who's the filmmaker.
Okay.
There's something about it. Vocally, it's in my range, which is one thing. And you got to, what's the point of going for a role that you just can't sing? But I love the story of Rent, the original story. I know that people made up adaptations of it with the message because it's originally about AIDS and everything. I think there's been a different version about talking about diabetes. Or brilliant, do it, but make it work. But don't taint an original story if you can. But that would be the role for me, playing Mark, because I think he's just a wicked male character. He's an artist, right? So I have that link to that person. In that story, everyone's a bit misunderstood and is trying to figure out their way in life in a beautiful setting. For me, putting on accents to an American, playing around with those sort of is just fun. It's a lot of fun. So that is the dream. Even to put it on, I would love to put it on at some point. Cameron, if you're listening,
We'll make sure he hears that.
I'm not sure if he's a fan of it. Actually, I'm not too sure because he's a dancer by trade, and there's not much dancing in it per se. It's more of just a theatrical piece with incredible music.
I mean, do you ever think, though, because with the theatre touring group, you're going round to schools a lot.
Yes.
Do you ever think there's going to be one student in that audience who's looking at you performing and the cast and looking and thinking, I would like to be up there. I might quite like to wear an outfit or...
Yeah, no, do you know what? We do Q&A sessions after each performance if they've got time, schools or theatres have time. And there's their opportunity to ask us questions. We get, what's your name? They're practicing English. That's the main part of why we do it. But you do get, even in international schools or even Spanish schools, and their level of English is fantastic. We do get those questions like, why did you become an actor? Does it pay well? You get all these kind of personal questions. And why did you do these pieces? Why did you like being on stage? Because I guess they're invited into this world, and we give them a world to live in for an hour, and they just take what they can from that. And as you said, I would love to do something like that, but it's just I'm out of my comfort zone, sort of thing. That's fine. I think in life you've got to be out of your comfort zone as much as possible.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I was having a conversation with somebody else the other day. They were saying, I'm actually a really shy person.
Okay.
But whether it's singing, dancing, acting, I'm somebody else.
Yeah,
and I can be as flamboyant, as crazy as I want, because it's not me.
Yeah.
And literally, once I've got the costume on and the props and the makeup, I'll go out there and be the most outrageous person. But inside, I'm just a shy, introvert person.
Sure.
And I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah. Do you know what? There's funny, a movie called Birdman that came out with Michael Keaton. It's all shot one shot, I think. And I believe, it's believed to be one shot. No, nothing against it.
No judgment.
No judgment here. But Edward Norton, he plays this kind of really high-end actor who gets hired in for X amount of money, whatever like that, to do this role. He's kind of against what's kind of being staged, and the thing he's against a director who's also the main part, and it's a really believed to be a rubbish bit of writing, and the film just kind of blows out of proportion. There's an interesting moment here. This guy's having a cigarette and he's talking to this girl, and it's like his line he says, when I'm on stage, that's what's real, and all of this, me smoking, everything's just fake. I was like, that's really interesting as an actor to say that, because I kind of get it. I've never really been a shy person, but anything, if you do a sport, if you play music, to debate and stuff like that, you're kind of putting on a performance regardless what you do, without maybe even thinking. Acting just happens to be that paid gig where you are paid to be that person, to bring a character to life. And so him saying that about this world that the stage is just the real, I kind of get it, because you just transform yourself. And when it's over, I sometimes even get headaches after a performance. It'd be just a flash headache, being I've given so much to that for the audience, but also for myself. And that's one thing that's really, really important. And the people you work with, it's really important that you're bringing this high caliber performance, even if you're a little bit sick, you're a bit run down or whatever like that. As they say, the show must go on. That's a real big indicator to be you just got to crack on and do what you love, despite if it's a real tough day. I had a mentor, Sam Grogan. Anytime you come into a space that you're performing in, leave your shit out the door. You come in here, this is the working space. This is what's you should love to do. You don't make it messy. It's not your bedroom unless it's set to be a bedroom. But this is your little pocket of love. Anything that's going on out there, leave it out there. That's that world. And I guess that's a weird link to that quote that is said from that movie. That this is the real, and everything that's kind of fake is just what we work in, what we every day, waking up, setting your alarm, checking your social media sort of thing. That's just kind of the monotonous stuff going on. And I don't live by that thing, but it's a triggered memory from watching that movie. I was like, that's just one brilliant quote.
I think that is so interesting. And I love the way that you are taking your productions round to the schools. You're talking about children in primary and secondary. They're trying to find who they are and where they sit in the world.
Yeah.
But anybody who gets involved with drama, singing, dancing, writing, that can just give them confidence. They can try. Well, I'm not very good at singing and dancing, but I love writing a little script or a little sketch.
You got to look at those small things that you do enjoy, but don't look at it as if it's a dramatic performance. I say to students, you like going on TikTok, you like social media, it's the big thing now. You go out there and you put a dance, you're on the street, you record yourself. When I think about me in the early 2000s, when I was a similar age, I was on the dance mat with my friend on the PlayStation.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It's kind of just like, I'm just doing it because just to do it. Now, I guess with a platform to kind of post and to be noticed in some way, that's acting. I'm sorry, you're doing a performance, and then you posting it and making it a little thing, and when it's gone, you kind of lost that little bit of that little world you've created for yourself. And then you go back to normal. You go and have your coffee. You go to school and hang out with your friends and stuff like that. So those little things you're doing, look at it. Honestly, reflect on those little things and be like, oh, actually, when I'm watching myself, I look at me go. Am I shining? Am I really enjoying myself doing this? Could I actually make this a real thing without it having to be publicised? Can I go to a class and like what Cameron with BCC Productions, dance classes, musical theatre, acting, the different things, they are accessible. They're there. I always say to people, look, if you enjoy watching movies, just look at the performance, even if it's a rubbish movie, so just look at what's kind of going on, reflect, look at characters and see, oh, there's a part of me in that person, because that's what characters are made for. That you're always going to find something in them. Even in horror movies and stuff like that, you're always going to find something in the drama that you will reflect and take something away from it. I'm
back at ballet classes now. I mean, I did ballet, I think, from about 5 to about 13 or 14. Going back to ballet in like my 60s, I think is phenomenal. And there's other people in my class who are of a similar age. And I'm just thinking, I love the music, I love the movement. I'm hoping it's good for my body.
Yes.
Whether you're working with young students in primary, secondary, other people are looking at you going, oh, I quite fancy being on stage, or I quite fancy writing a script. And then grown-ups like us who are back at musical theatre, back at ballet classes, Cameron always says, nobody cares. If you're going right and you should be going left, nobody cares.
Exactly, no one
we
cares.
Don't care what you wear, you come in whatever you want, as long as you enjoy it, you have fun and you get something out of it. And this is why dance, drama, singing, acting, writing is just so damn important.
It is.
Regardless
absolutely.
of your age.
Oh, it's timeless.
Regardless
it's a timeless
of your ability.
Sport, let's say.
Whether it is, oh, when I step on there, I'm someone completely different, or no good at singing and dancing, but I think I can write a little poem or a small script. It's just phenomenal. So I would encourage absolutely anybody to
give it a go.
Absolutely.
If you don't like it, at least you tried. And you're not there to be the professional.
Yeah, I'm not out there to be a prima ballerina. I mean, I love it. It's great fun with people. I love the music. I love the technique. It's just phenomenal, and it's a huge part of my life that I'm like, oh, ballet class today. I've got my little ballet shoes and off I trot. I love it.
Yeah, whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah.
And I think if we can encourage one person, regardless of their age, to go to their local, I don't know if they've got a drama school, or if they've got something going in a community centre, just get together with a friend and do a little TikTok
Sort of matters.
dance
Yeah,
or
yeah, of
whatever.
course.
Absolutely, just go for it.
Yeah, world sort of needs it. You know, look in their way a little bit, and
Yeah.
anything that's like a little glimmer, a little spark of something that's different. And now, one thing, some people don't like different change environments to go, you know, but it's really, really important to see that there's work going on. Yeah, unnoticed. You know, you've got to be around with the right people and making positive steps to make good, like, fun work. And this isn't to say work is not work. It's a way of life, just to enjoy putting on something, having a good time with your friends. And like you said, doesn't matter. You're the ones doing it. As we say, the audience don't know anything really. They're in denial of what's going on the stage. If something bad happens, it just happens. It's part of the show. Hopefully, don't anything bad happen, but they don't have a clue what's going on.
Any final words? Any final thoughts? We've covered a lot.
We have covered a lot, yeah.
We have covered a lot.
Some depths.
And I just want to say again, though, Joe, for you to sit here and talk incredibly openly and very bravely about a very difficult part of your life.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. You're very welcome.
I have got so much respect for you because I didn't know about that part of your life. No. And when I received your message, I was a bit, wow.
Yeah.
It really was.
Even I was a bit like, wow.
Yeah, it was, absolutely. Like, okay, so I just want to say a huge thank you for doing what you've done today. And if it encourages one person to go and speak to their medical professional, great. Yeah. But on a more positive note, anything to say about encouraging the next generation of actors, singers, writers?
Like, learn and love learning. You must continue doing that sort of thing. Read about certain things. Don't always trust negative comments and feedback on feeds and things of something that you might love, like a review or something. Reviews are just all over the shop. I think you got to just look at it at face value and say, like, I might enjoy that. Not Tim, Jeff, whoever have said this about this, so I'm not going to go and see it. Kind of just really have your own view on things as much as possible and be true to that as much as possible. Yeah, and take big steps in life if you can. Travel if you can. I travelled a lot working, doing acting in Europe, in Asia, and with various different audiences, which has just been so insightful to know how theatre touches different people's lives and culturally how people accept theatre in lives. You know, I think it's interesting how the Brits do it with pantomime. You know, everyone's involved, everyone's like geared up to have a good time, and then that just doesn't exist anywhere else. It's bizarre, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Americans don't really know about it. It's not really
a
European thing. It's solely a real British cultural treat, let's say, a little gift. And I want to just end to say again, thank you for listening. And I think how I reflect on this everything of my life, I've been given a gift from the loss I've had a lot, but it's definitely given me something that has changed my life for the bad, but really, really, really for the good, which I'm precious happy for, you know.
And you are the smiliest person I know.
This gaffer tape.
Joe, thank you so much for being. Oh my God, I can't. Tears are rolling down my face.
Bless you.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with
I
Joe.
really have.
Oh my God, I'm struggling here. I'm struggling. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Joe. And if you have a story to tell, please get in touch. Let's get your story out there.
Yeah, go for it.
Send me an email on allaboutyoupodcast@yahoo.com and let's get your story told.